Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Let my people go.
Now when Israel was in Egypt land,
Let my people go.
oppressed so hard they could
Mandela. For the same reason he was locked up for 27 years, he received the Nobel Prize for Peace and became the first black president of South Africa. You shall be given more than Nobel Prize for Peace. You shall be given the Nobel Prize for Justice. The right thing to do is to stand for your people. No better way to die than to die as a freedom fighter. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to the second edition of the program, Amba, This Week. Our focus today is on the prisoners of conscience, thousands of Southern Cameroonians, shipped to La République du Cameroun's jails, given hefty sentences for crimes that they did not commit. But because they live under a dictatorship, they are now what Albert Mukong once said, prisoners without a crime. The situation is dire, and the people of former Southern British Cameroons are facing an existential threat from the French Cameroon that is bent on Frenchifying them as a people. Cameroon over 60 years has made sure that this region stays the same from independence and no developments, making the people poor. Reason? So they can remain desperate, depending on the goodwill of La République du Cameroun and their French master, France. Like Cornelius Patrick Viwese once said, "We are not poor. Cameroon makes us poor so we can depend on them." That is the situation for all Southern Cameroonians today. Poverty is a state policy. For all the thousands of Southern Cameroonians in La République du Cameroun's jails, we will today focus as case study Abdulkarim Ali, a Muslim scholar of the Christian Bible and an activist for the rights of the people of Southern Cameroons. He was locked up for the second time in the jails of Cameroon, being accused of terrorism because he stood up for his people and criticized the actions of the chief called Moja Moja and how he acted like a vandal, persecuting the people of Southern Cameroons. The following video shows the outing he made that led to his arbitrary arrest and detention, transported to Yaoundé Central Prison, Kondengi, and stayed there for 7 months without trial.
Moja Moja, this message is for you. You have tortured our people, maimed them, killed them. You've abused us to the maximum. But I want to challenge you. We understand you have your source of power, which is the government of Cameroon, against your own people. I just watch you kicking and pushing an innocent Southern Cameroonian into a vehicle. Ikome John, that is your name I assume, Moja Moja. I invite you to come and dare this nonsense for 30 seconds in Bamenda. I invite you, since you claim you are a good soldier for the regime of Cameroon, I invite you come to Bamenda and dare it for 30 seconds. Meantime, keep doing what you're doing on our people in Boya. Keep doing that. Nature shall arrest you, because our own arrest will be too much for you. Take this warning and understand this. You shall remain and die a slave, because that is what you are. An ignorant wimp who has lost humanity. You dehumanize your people. falsely. You cannot even face the real people that you try to seek. You keep beating and torturing and maiming our people on the street, and the international community is watching you. Woe betide you. Remember, I have invited you, I challenge you, come dead this nonsense in Bamenda for 30 seconds.
Abdulkarim Ali. That was the video he made days before he was picked up and shipped to Yaoundé Central Prison. On the 20th of March 2023, he was summoned before the military tribunal in Yaoundé. But, like the case is always in Cameroon, the military judge never showed up. Thus, this trial was adjourned. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch have all called for the release of Abdulkarim Ali. But as it is well known, Cameroon despises international human rights treaties. Who thus can hold Cameroon accountable for the violations of human rights laws that it commits against the people of Southern Cameroons on a daily basis? The great question of the day will be answered by Mr. Akoso, Head of Department for Human Rights in the Ambazonia Governing Council, a lead organization that started defense for the people of Ambazonia. Welcome to the program, sir.
Great to be on your show, Samuel. Thanks for having me.
What do you think about the human rights situation in Ambazonia?
To be honest with you, Sam, that's a very interesting question. Let me just say that the Ambazonia Governing Council was formed in 2013, and as you know, it is the vanguard organization that is committed to the defense and territorial integrity, as well as the sovereignty of Ambazonia. We have specialized departments, one of which is my department, the Department for Health, Human Rights, and Humanitarian Services, fondly referred to as the HHS. When the founding fathers wrote the Hague of Six Constitution, they took into account Cameroon's bestiality and track record of human rights violations. So my department keeps, so to speak, a big black book of these records dating way back, as far back as 1961, when Cameroon broke international law and rolled their tanks over international borders and occupied Ambazonia. It would take more than 100 encyclopedias to document Cameroon's human rights excesses in Ambazonia. And so I don't really, like I said before, know where to start. But summarily, Cameroon is guilty of uncountable incidents of war crimes in Ambazonia, including, but not limited to, crimes of genocide, manslaughter, ethnic cleansing, crimes against humanity, extrajudicial killings, the killing of captured soldiers, killings that target civilians, including women and children, crimes of colonization, beheadings, eradication of people's sources of livelihood by burning their farms, businesses, commercial motorbikes, and also burning down entire villages. As we speak, more than 500 Ambazonian villages have suffered from arson attacks, and over 20,000 Ambazonians have been killed by Cameroon's state sponsor of terrorist group called Militaire Camerounaise. All of these are punishable under international law, one of which is the Geneva Convention.
What are you doing to make sure that these crimes don't go unpunished and justice served, compensation awarded to the victims?
The answer to this question is hovering in the wind. The international system has a long history of trying criminals of war crimes, and I already mentioned several crimes committed by Cameroon in the ongoing Ambazonia War of Liberation, and these crimes are punishable by international laws and treaties. Let me state a number of them, if I can recollect, all those crimes that I just enlisted, but let me try. If you look at genocide, the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Crime of Genocide punishes that. Crimes against humanity, the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, that is the 1998 statute, and even the Geneva Convention is, also applicable here as well. I mentioned ethnic cleansing, although there is no specific international treaty on ethnic cleansing. The practice is considered a crime against humanity and is therefore prohibited under international law. Extrajudicial killings. We have situations where Cameroon's terrorist forces, as I always call them, go break into people's homes, pull out even medical doctors for providing, medical assistance to who they call separatist fighters, fold their eyes and tie their hands behind their backs and shoot them to death, extrajudiciously. So that is also punishable under the 1966 International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, as well as the Geneva Convention. So you notice that the Geneva Convention, occurs in most of these instances that I'm naming. Also, the killing of captured soldiers. We have situations where Cameroon has, captured our soldiers. This is war, and Cameroon is bound by the 1949 Geneva Convention. So killing of captured soldiers is also a crime. The targeting of civilians, the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, as well as the Geneva Convention. You see, the Geneva Convention keeps recurring. All of them, punish these crimes. And we have seen how Cameroon targets civilians. I think a year ago or two, my department came up with a document, a charter on the protection of, women, children, and even the disabled, the elderly as well, in times of war. And we thought that it was important for the international community to know that we are taking note. So I also named crimes of colonization. The United Nations Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples, 1960, also states that colonization is a crime. We also have cases of beheadings. We know of Sam Sawyer, who was beheaded. There is the prohibition of torture and cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment of people is recognized in various international treaties, including the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Convention Against Torture and other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment. These international laws provide a legal framework for the prosecution of individuals responsible for committing these crimes, and the Ambazonia Governing Council is religiously archiving these crimes. I will not go into the details. We know Cameroon is, we don't want to give them our weapon to use to fight us. Thank you.
Education, as they say, is the backbone of a free and learned society. But how free are the people of Ambazonia? Marcus Garvey once said, "A man without knowledge of his past is like a tree without roots." On education, I spoke with the Secretary for Education in the Ambazonia Governing Council, who has this to say about the future plans and the difference between the curriculum of the Ambazonian people that will be created and that of La République du Cameroun that Ambazonians study today. Secretary Njusi Abang, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Samuel, for having me on your program.
What is going to be different between the current educational system studied by the people all over Ambazonia and the new program created by the Ambazonia Governing Council for the future of the Ambazonian people?
The new Ambazonia education system is diametrically opposed to the archaic French Cameroon colonial education system in many domains, inclusive of 1. Learners, 2. Curriculum design, 3. Methods of delivery of the curriculum, 4. Ambazonia community education schools, 5. Homeschooling, 6. Online learning, 7. School districts, 8. Constantly updated quality teachers, 9. Merit-based school administrators, 10. Disciplinary integrity and ethics committee, 11. School calendar spanning from January to December, 12. 2 semester examinations per year, 13. School meals, 14. Supply of didactic materials like textbooks, tablets, and laptops, 15. High-tech educational infrastructure and technologies, 16. Educational funding and school loans for tertiary education. While the former archaic and rejected French Cameroon system of education was mainly focused on indoctrination and knowledge acquisition aimed at the assimilation, enslavement, and disenfranchisement of Ambazonians in order to make them solely dependent on government, the Ambazonia education system, on the other hand, provides quality education which lights our way to freedom and prosperity. The Ambazonia system is so unique that it dwarfs the old system. The old system produced consumers who sold raw materials and imported finished goods. But the new Ambazonian education system, which we are putting in place, is aimed at producing innovators, transformers, producers, wealth creators, job creators for the highest standard of living and per capita income as measured in the happiness index and wealth created per individual and surface area. Whereas the former system focused on mass education and promoted rugged individualism and mediocrity, the latter encourages meritocracy and group work or team building for the greater good of community members. And the greatest number, with the new Ambazonia education system, no one will be left behind, because all of us have fallen short of the glory that goes with personality development and nation building due to 100 years of colonial education and the trauma emanating from it. Indeed, everyone will be reformed, re-educated, and reformatted to fit the new dispensation. This will bridge the gap between the rich and the poor and provide quality goods and services to our people. The new Ambazonia education system is anchored on our roots and emerging global trends, whereas that of the obsolete system was pegged on Napoleonic French Cameroon education system and patches of the Anglo-Saxon colonial education system, which was anthemic to our local reality and needs. Education, therefore, is a systematic process through which a child or an adult acquires knowledge, experience, skills, and sound attitudes, especially in a structured or well-constructed school environment, characterized by zero tolerance of corruption, violence, nepotism, tribalism, and mediocrity.
That was the sound of the first IED that blew in Bamenda, with casualties on the side of La République du Cameroon's armed forces. At the time, many people who still believed in the coffin revolution never saw an armed struggle as a possible way of getting the plight of the people of Ambazonia to Yaoundé. They believed in the force of argument. But when the ADF started the armed struggle, detonated the IED in Bamenda. They were even termed by some of their comrades as terrorists. The ADF said, "We believe in the argument of force and not the force of argument." That is the only language La République du Cameroun understands. Ever since then, all factions in the armed struggle for Ambazonia's independence have been using IEDs. In fact, it changed the game and brought fear into the hearts of La République du Cameroun's special forces, the B.
My country people them, for the last 1 week, Cameroon military, they done lost over 15 troops for inside Ambazonia. 15 terrorist Cameroon military, they done died for inside Ambazonia. Cameroon, it lost more forces inside Ambazonia past the last year where America it be withdrawn from inside Afghanistan.
That is a situation report published by Capo Daniel, an official of the Ambazonia Defense Forces. Will the great question of the day be decided by IEDs or diplomacy? What lies ahead for the people of Ambazonia in their quest to be free from La République du Cameroun? We will keep you updated in this program, Amba This Week. Thank you for listening and stay tuned to The Weekender. The Weekender brings you a summary of weekly updates of the news from Amazonia to the world. Click to subscribe.